I'm not a New Year's resolutioner or whatever. It's like, I don't care. And I mean that as respectfully as possible. I mean, I don't care because it's like January 1st is a great time to start a fitness or a weight loss journey. Perfect time. New Year's resolutions. Everybody feels guilty when they do a New Year's resolution. I don't know what it is, but I was telling Alex this earlier today. I've had at least 2 clients tell me where, actually, was it 2 clients? No, it wouldn't have been 2 clients because they're working with me right now. 2 people at least. I talk mostly to my clients, so that's probably why I thought it was my clients. But I've had 2 people tell me last week or so, where they're like, I'm gonna start a weight loss journey, or maybe they're finishing one up and they're taking maybe a break or whatever it is for the next few months for whatever their reasons are, and they're like, I'm gonna restart in January, or I'm gonna start in January. And then usually, what these people do is they feel like they have to explain themselves. I'm not a New Year's resolutioner or whatever. It's like, I don't care. And I mean that as respectfully as possible. I mean, I don't care because it's like January 1st is a great time to start a fitness or a weight loss journey. Perfect time. Now, today's better, and depending on when this episode comes out, maybe it's January 1, I don't know. But the day that, if you're pushing it to New Year's Day and you're in the month of November, December, October, whatever, and you're waiting for that, sure. I think everyone already knows that argument. A lot of people probably already feel guilty about that, where they're like, I should be starting now, whatever. Yes, you should. The best time to start was yesterday. Second best time is today. But if someone's going to start a New Year's the same as everybody else, which has like this like negative connotation to it, because so many people, there's a reason for that. So many people struggle to stay consistent with it, with whatever their resolutions are, and typically they're health-based of some sort. It's like, it doesn't really, I don't think it matters. It's like, I was telling Alex this earlier too. It's like, I'm anti New Year's resolutions. I think New Year's resolutions are awesome. Start of the year is a cool time to start anything. It's a great time to start anything. So it's a whole other thing, I guess, if you're putting off your goals for whatever reason, but that's you. That is up to you, right? That is fine. But ultimately, if you're going to start making a change on January 1, it's fine that you're grouped in with a bunch of other people that are also not going to be consistent. Who cares? It's all up to you anyway, right? You can be in that small subgroup that is going to be successful and is going to be consistent and see your goals all the way through. And I hope you do. And I think January 1 is an awesome time to do that, especially because it's like, people always argue and be like, yeah, well, you could start. Why does it have to be a start of the calendar year? It could be any time. It's like, yes, it's true. But like, there is like something mental about the January 1 start. Starting at the start of the year, there is something about that. And to me, it makes sense. Sure, it's arbitrary. It's just like time is arbitrary, whatever. You could go deep into the philosophical thing around that or whatever. But it's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, it makes sense in our head. You know what I mean? This is why we have days of the weeks and hours of the day and whatever. It's like, it just helps to organize our minds into measuring time better. And so January 1, you're coming out of a month or so of like holiday festivities and Christmas and New Year's Eve and all the things around that. And if you had a week or 2 off, depending on what you do for work around that time, you're off a totally different routine. There's probably, there's going to be more social events, Christmas parties, work parties. There's going to be tons of food, tons of booze. The food in particular and the booze in particular is going to be plentiful because just around that time, everything is just more, it's bigger, there's a lot, and even just the energy, right? It's like, it's very celebratory. So it makes sense that when you kind of come out of that phase, like all of us do, it's a normal feeling, I think, after it all kind of dies down and you take down the Christmas tree, if you celebrate Christmas, and if you get back to work, and then January 1 or January 2nd comes and you're like, all right, starting a new year, coming off, last 2 weeks to a month of overeating, eating food that didn't make me feel good. I don't feel good about myself. I was hungover for a lot of those events as well. Drank way too much alcohol, too many sweets, too many desserts, too much food in general, not enough walking, no working out. Generally an unhealthy, probably routine over that entire period of time. It makes sense that you just have that like, ugh, I don't feel good. Like I want to do something now. So I think that's part of the reason as well. Is like it's not just the fact that it's the start of the year. It's the fact that as a culture and a society, we've just come out of 2 to 4 weeks of endless festivities. And for a lot of people, it's also stressful because kids, family drama, like, driving to different families' homes for different dinners and work parties and whatever. And there's just lots of moving parts. There's lots going on. So it's like it's stress, it's high food, it's high booze, you're in an environment where there's just a lot of these things at your disposal that probably don't support your fitness or health goals very well. So it makes sense that you get to this place where all that ends and it dies down. It's like, all right, I got to the end of this year and it capped off with not behaviors that were setting me up for a positive trajectory for my health and fitness. And if I look at the year as a whole, I didn't really do what I wanted to do. I tried a couple things here and there, but I kind of fell off and couldn't stay consistent. And I still want to lose weight, or I want to get consistent at the gym, or just get into a more healthy routine. Maybe it has nothing to do with weight loss or weight gain or muscle or any of that stuff. Maybe it's just getting control of your eating and eating healthier on a regular basis and not skipping meals, and preparing meals ahead of time and actually just putting yourself first, which may be challenging for you. That is a common challenge for a lot of people, and that is actually a very healthy goal, I think, for a lot of people to work towards if you're someone like that. And January 1 is a great time to do that, and I hope you do that. What I want to do is, first of all, encourage you to do that. So you should do that, and you should not shy away. I was arguing before about like should. So I'm going to put my should onto you, which you can take with a grain of salt if you like. But my opinion is that you should feel excited and motivated and committed to starting on January 1 or January 2nd or whatever in the new year towards a health and fitness goal. Now, the challenge is going to be staying consistent with something like that. I can help you with that. I'm a fitness coach, helps people with these things. But if you're going to do these on your own, I would like to show you some strategies that are very simple. I won't say they're easy, but they're simple. You don't have to do all of them, but I would suggest doing most of them, maybe picking a handful or more of these. If you can do all of these, what I would do is write down at least what ones from this that you're going to do. And then whatever it is, if it's 2 things from this list or if it's everything from this list, you write it down, you make sure it's very clear. It is measurable, quantifiable as best as you can. And you put this screenshot it, put it in the background of your phone, print it out and put it under your visor in the car, put it at your workstation in your office, put it everywhere. Put it on your mirror in the bathroom, or put it in your bedroom at some place. Put it everywhere where you can see it and come back to it on a regular basis. You're not going to be perfect with this, but the goal here is not to be perfect. The goal here is to be consistent so that you get to next New Year's and you can look back on the year and be like, wow, that was the first year in a long time, or maybe ever, that I stuck to my goals. I stayed consistent. I didn't completely derail, although I had some hard weeks and hard months in there. I never actually fully derailed and I got back on track. And I've never done that before. That feels good. And I am now better in every way than where I was at, or who I was, or who I am, than where I was last New Year's. And you look back on the last 12 months, it'll go by like that. And so if we can take advantage of this year, because you are getting another try. At some point, we're all going to die. Not sure if you've considered this. Sorry to bear the bad news, but it's all going to end. You only get so many tries. So be grateful that you currently right now have another try. So let's take another crack at it, and let's take another crack at it from a renewed perspective, a different mindset, and maybe some new strategies, assuming you haven't used some of these strategies. They aren't going to be super intense, like I said. I want these to be simple, low-hanging fruit that you can take and you can apply into your life. So what are those? First one, walk 30 minutes every day. I picked 30 minutes kind of arbitrarily. So if you're getting off the couch or you just don't pay attention to movement at all and you're like, oh, I walk here and there and mostly sedentary job, mostly sedentary lifestyle for the most part, but I'll go on walks here and there and blah, 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 whatever. I would still start with this 30 minutes every day. If you're already relatively active, maybe you double that and be like, on top of what I'm doing, I'm going to do an extra 60 minutes, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, maybe a full hour at night, full hour in the morning, whatever works. Doesn't matter. 60 minutes total. But if you're starting on the low end, start with 30 minutes. I think that's a great start. It's going to end up being, depending on how fast it's going to be, or how fast you walk, that will be between 3,000 to 4,000 steps, which would be great. And then that'll be on top of just your normal daily living that you have to move around for. When it comes to steps and it comes to walking, more is better. So if you start knocking off 30 minutes every day, 7 days a week, be consistent. Do not miss your days. Make it happen. In the case of steps, more is going to be better. So if you have some days where you do more, great. But 30 minutes, I would treat that as like a minimum. So it's like, I got to hit my 30 minutes on the worst day ever. No matter what, worst day possible, I hit my minimum. Days where I'm feeling great, I hit 30 minutes and I'm on a walk and I feel good, I'm going to go for 40, 45, right? That's great. That's going to be really, really helpful. That's going to be helpful for increasing our energy output, our caloric output, and increasing our metabolic rate. When people talk about, oh, I have a bad metabolism, I have a slow metabolism, it's really hard to lose weight, I eat a little bit of extra food and I just start gaining weight. There's going to be a lot to unpack there, but one thing I know for sure, you don't move enough. So one way that we can increase our metabolism, because our metabolism is going to be the process of utilizing and converting energy, which is what literally the calories in food are. Walking is a great way to do that. That is within our control. It's low skill, it's low hanging fruit, it's low effort. And the only thing is it really just takes time, but it's time very, very well spent because it's so effective. So that is a great way to increase your metabolism. If you're someone who's like, I feel like I can barely eat any food and I still gain weight. Cool. You know what that means is you do not move enough. So get moving enough. And that is one way that you can affect your metabolism as opposed to just falling into this trap that a lot of people do, which is, oh, my hormones, my this, my that, whatever. And all those things can be true, but you're not stuck. You always are able, if you are able-bodied to walk, then that is within your control to influence your metabolism for the better and get that thing revved, get that thing jacked up consistently. Number 2, eat 3 to 4 times a day. Now, this doesn't need to be perfect, but I would aim for this. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, maybe a snack, right? And so that's why I would just call that like basically 4 meals a day. Just the snack would be like a smaller meal essentially. So you could call it a snack just because of, define a snack as like a smaller meal essentially. But 3 meals a day, with or without a snack, depending on maybe how much you move. If you move a lot more, then you could probably, start with the four times a day. If you're overwhelmed with not grazing, if you're someone who's already a big snacker and you graze throughout the day, maybe you start with 4 meals a day just to get consistent with that feeling of like meal 1, don't eat, meal 2, don't eat, meal 3, don't eat, meal 4, right? If we just drop you to 3 times a day and you're used to eating every hour, hour and a half, you might be very overwhelmed with how much appetite and hunger you experience because you haven't experienced that in a while. So start with 4 and then you could always go to 3 and maybe you even increase your protein at those meals to help you be fuller longer. Third one, no snacks between meals, which I already kind of touched on. So this is key, is like eating on a regular basis, but what's key is not eating in between those meals. That's going to be extremely helpful. What we want to do is we want to get onto that regular routine of eating 3 to 4 times a day. They might be different times every day. That's fine. Life is unpredictable and chaotic. That's cool. But we want to avoid having what I call undocumented calories in between each meal. Why we want to do that is because you could be very consistent with meal 1, meal 2, meal 3, meal 4. But if we're consistently having the odd snack here and there between meals, that could add up to hundreds or thousands of calories by the end of the day or the end of the week. And you look back and you don't really think about them because, like I said, they're undocumented calories. So you don't really think about it. It's kind of mindless. But you think back on your meals and you're like, oh, I'm eating healthy. I don't know what's happening. But it's all of these extra calories that were undocumented that kind of came in to your system through the mindless grazing and mindless snacking in between meals. And it all adds up. The body keeps score. So that's going to be crucial as well. The fourth one here, work out 3 to 4 times a week. Now, this is arbitrary as well. Maybe you start with 1 to 2 times a week if you're starting from zero. If you're starting from zero, you could still do 3 times a week, but maybe the workouts are 10 to 15 minute circuits, right? 3, 4, 5 exercises. Maybe you do 3 or 4 rounds. Light weights, just get the body moving, get the muscles pumping, get good at some of the technique on some of the exercises because you probably won't feel like you're particularly good at them, and that's fine. It takes practice. And then you could work up over time. I think that would be a good kind of schedule for even beginners to get into, is working out 3 times a week or 4. 4 is not better necessarily. So it's not like 3 is worse and 4 is better. I would just pick the one that you're like, I can commit to that, and then do that. If you want to add a 4th one down the road as you build up some positive momentum, do that. But starting with 3 is going to be great. And like I already alluded to, the duration of the sessions, they only need to be 10 to 30 minutes. You can do more if you have more time and more emotional availability for that. That's great. But if you're like, you see like 45, 60-minute sessions and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't have time for that. Then, or maybe you do have time for that, but you feel like you don't have time for that. That's understandable as well. In which case, we want to pick something that you're like, you know what? I can do that. We want to pick something that you look at it and you say, I can commit to that. Okay, so start on the low end and work up. Pick a conservative target and work up. We don't want to just bite off more than we can chew. 5th one, weigh in daily. So this is using the scale. Weigh in daily. And the key with weighing in daily is accepting the fluctuations, the ups and the downs, right? It's going to go up. It'll even stay there sometimes. It'll freak you out. Come down sometimes. You'll be like, oh my goodness, I'm making progress. And then it'll come up again. This is normal. What you want to do is you want to weigh in daily, but then monitor the weekly trends. So you want to be looking week to week and month to month with all the little daily scale weights, but not focus on the daily scale weights in isolation, because that's not particularly helpful and it doesn't tell us that much. The scale can go up and down from so many things that are not fat, right? It's going to be affected by so many other things like hormones, salt, glycogen, fiber, digestion, stress, sleep, PMS, so many things. Timing of meals. You eat a heavier meal than you normally did and then went to bed. You wake up a little bit later, right? Slower bowels, that's going to affect it as well. So there's lots of things that affect it. 6th one, stop eating every meal at 80% full. So you won't be perfect with this, but commit. This is probably one of the most important ones of all of these. So I would say definitely pick this one out of all these if you're only going to pick a few. Stop eating every meal at 80% full, no matter what the actual meal is. It could be the worst meal ever. It's totally unhealthy. But if we stop at 80% full, we're going to save a lot of extra calories that we would have otherwise had. And we'll just feel better. It'll be better for digestion. It'll be better for our actual calorie intake. It'll be better for our body composition, everything. And it's better for our relationship and healthy habits around food. So it's a triple whammy in that sense. The 7th one here, prep as many meals ahead of time. This is going to help, obviously. I think people understand the asset of practicing something like this. The benefit of practicing something like this is going to be, you're in a situation where you're stressed out, busy, no sleep, whatever, and you're like, oh my goodness, it's lunchtime, I'm starving. I could pick, a bag of Doritos, or, oh yeah, I already had this meal already made, ready to go. Cool. It's just as convenient because I already made it before. Thank God I made that. Cool. I can stay on track even though I'm stressed out and busy, and I can lean on the fact that I'm staying consistent, even if the day is all going to shit. So prep as many meals ahead of time. Maybe you don't prep all your meals. I know a lot of people are overwhelmed by that, and you don't need to. Maybe you just prep. Maybe you cook breakfast quick and easy every day, and then you just prep your lunches for the week, 7 meals. Maybe it's 6 meals. And then maybe dinner is cooked fresh every night. So maybe it's literally just lunches that you prep, but prep as many meals ahead of time, which help a ton, or at the very least have all of those ingredients in the fridge and in the house, in the kitchen, so that they're easy to grab and cook on the fly, so that you have them available when you would otherwise want to grab snacky, convenient food. Last one. This is an important one. I'm biased, but this is an important one. Hire a coach, and I can do all of this for you. I can build this out personalized to you so that you can be in a place where you don't have to think about this. I can make this personalized to you, to the exact numbers that are required for you to achieve your goals in the time frame that you want, and then get you to that point where you're 3 months into the new year, 6 months into the new year, 9 months into the new year, 12 months, and you're at the next New Year's, and you can look back and be like, wow, that was way better than every other year that I've tried to do this in the past. I love how I look. I love how I feel. And I'm glad that I didn't have to take the burden of thinking through all of this stuff. And I had someone else to handhold me and guide me through this. So if you do want help for something like this, great. DM me at I am Tim Walcott on Instagram, and I'll get back to you and we can have a chat and see how I can help. If you do not want to coach right now, that is fine too. I would highly recommend grabbing around a handful of these habits, if not all of them, and then writing them out, putting them all over your house, your car, your office workstation, whatever, so that you see them every day and commit to being consistent. Make that promise to yourself and keep that promise. Hope this helped you. If you need any insight or guidance from me and you don't want to hire me, that's fine. I'm happy to give you some advice on this stuff. DM me again on Instagram at I am Tim Walcott. Leave a comment below as well if you have a question. I can help you out there. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and we'll get back to you with another episode next week. Thanks for listening.